Okay, this team for the Bismarck Sub30. I'm unhappy that I was forced to dive Shulk when I was able to do 7 of 8 Sub30s without her. But I don't think that I'm going to come to regret this Legend dive at all, because it's really that powerful, and no one can do what she does. Nobody. Unless we include Moro, which is not in our game and may never be in our game. So, from the top, we have Aphmau, which everyone is well acquainted with by now. She is on every team that has at least a mage on it as my healer, because she happens to be pretty decent at healing. And at the same time, she ends up buffing the party, magic and mind. So she's just really a great package for carrying along as a healer. She runs into more trouble in this fight than she does in any other Magicite. I think, and my personal opinion is that Bismarck does more damage than any other Magicite. And she's able to somehow pull through and heal everyone as far as they need to be healed, at least. And you see that she has Shelga. So I've done something a little different on her this time, which is I usually have her cast Wall. And then on a low damage fight, then I'll have her do Shelga or Protecka. And then on third turn, that's when she uses her BSB and buffs the party. For a couple reasons, I'm doing something different this time. First reason, she can't wait until the third turn to use her BSB this time. Bismarck does too much damage, and she can't keep up, and the party dies. So, this is a second turn BSB. Another reason is that because Shulk is in the party, and she wraths and entrusts so damn fast, I lose a lot of damage if Aphmau doesn't use her BSB on second turn, because if she uses it on third turn, then Ash and Dash have both used their BSBs by then, and they lose a lot of damage from their entries because of it. So we have Shulk using Shelga on first turn and BSB on second turn. Next up is Shulk. Or sorry, did I say Shulk? I meant Aphmau. Aphmau does that. But anyway, Shulk in the second position. She's speedy. She does the Wraths and Entrusts, and you can see that she is Legend dived from her Legend materia. She's using a Striker because it didn't make much sense to use Thunder God on her. Like Ash has, because the first 3 actions that she makes in the game are instantaneous, so why give her a record materia that reduces the cast time of her things if she's already doing 3 of her actions instantly. So she uses a Striker, and she feeds off her first 4 turns are Wrath and Trust to Ash, or no, Wrath and Trust to Dash, and then Wrath and Trust to Ash. And that sets the stage for the entire fight. Third, we have Onion Knight. He does a very simple role. He does a very similar role to what he does on nearly every other team that I have. Is first turn BSB, second turn Protecka, third turn Magicite, fourth turn do damage. That's exactly what he does here. After using the Hydra Magicite to Imperil Lightning the boss, he just uses Chain Thundaga for the rest of the fight. Dash, on first turn, Wraths, and on second turn he uses an ability I created specifically for this fight, which is an awesome ability that people probably underutilize, and that's Mana's Pain, which is a 3-star Bard ability. Increases the magic of everyone on your team by 15%. I was, in previous attempts, using a single target Faith onto Ash, but I like Mana's Pain a whole lot better for this team, because Dash benefits from it as well as Onion Knight, and it's a buff that happens at a single turn rather than Faith, which would need to be placed on people one at a time. And then on third turn, he's able to use his BSB, thanks to the entrusting coming from Shulk. And last up, we have Ash. Who, because she has Thunder God, and because I have no one else that can fit in the actions to use it, it makes the most sense for her to cast Wall on first turn. The Thunder God status, it reduces all cast speeds by, or cast times by 66%, which is really nice for casting Soul Breaks, which is the reason why she's using it. And that's because that's why her function in this fight is to cast Soul Breaks over and over and over and over and over again. So she uses Wall on first turn and Valigar Amanda on second turn, and then BSB on third turn. She has a rank 3 Valigar Amanda on her, which gives her 4 uses of it. It's a really an excellent ability for her to be using in this fight. Sudden Thunder really doesn't do a lot because she's already has a 3x cast speed modifier. It's hard to really get any more than that. Even moving from ×3 to instant cast isn't really that much. So I use Valigar Amanda on her because thank you to the recent ability upgrade that we had, 6-star abilities give a lot of Soul Break points. Valigar Amanda in particular gives 80 on cast, but if you're exploiting weakness, that's increased by 150%. Or increased by 50%, which means it's 120 Soul Break points per cast of Valigar Amanda. That's 4/5 of a life siphon. So that's a great thing for her to use when she's not able to cast her Soul Break. Which even with the crazy Soul Break entrusting coming from Shulk, Ash has the Thunder God status, which means she casts so quickly that there's no way to entrust enough to her unless I had 2 entrusters. So she does get all 4 uses of those Valigar Amandas. Alright, so now that I actually have the Magicite. Magicite's really easy. It's just a typical load of the primary Magicite is Imperil Lightning. The 2 Magicite after that are Enlil's, Enlil, who increase or Empower Lightning, but Attack Boon, which is not relevant for the team, but I want the Empower Lightning, so it's okay getting the Attack Boon. And the last 2 slots taken up by Wendigo, which are Magic Boon. So I got my Magic Boon, Empower Lightning, and Imperil Lightning. That's my Magicite deck for this this group. Okay, so let's start off, and I'll tell you about the first turn here. There we go. Bismarck's ugly little mug. So first turn is going to be Shulk because she's the speediest. She uses Wrath. Onion Knight uses BSB. Desh uses Wrath. Ash casts Wall, and Aphmau casts Shelga. And then because Shulk is so fast, she's basically gets 2 turn 1s, and she immediately entrusts after that to Desh. And there's a good reason why it goes to Desh instead of Ash. I tried to do it a different way, but the reason why I entrust to Desh on the first turn is because he generates more Soul Break points. Ash uses Wall on first turn, which is an RW, which doesn't generate any Soul Break points. So she needs a later entrust from Shulk, because Shulk will have taken hits by the time she makes the second entrust. So she will bestow more Soul Break points upon the second person than she does the first person. So let's start it off. It was a long introduction. So, Wrath. See, Shulk is crazy. She gets off her second action right as everyone finishes their first action. And I give off a quick entrust to Dash. And then her next two actions are Entrust, or Wrath, and then Entrust to Ash. See, I had to do a lot of resets because time is of the essence here. Shulk needs to get off her second Wrath right now because this will allow her to get her off her Entrust, and because her fourth turn is regular cast speed, so she needs to get off that Entrust in time for Ash's third turn. Which is tough to do because Ash is under Thunder God status. And you'll see how perfectly this works out. It really is just flawless. Then we get that magic buff off, and here we go. You see Ash's ATB and Shulk's cast time. They do just go off at the exact same time. And I'm just spam clicking Dust Decree to get it off on third turn. That's an 8-second BSB off of Ash. And she was the second Entrust. It's just... Shulk made this team so powerful because it allowed two powerful bursters to start bursting on their third turns, which was just fantastic. And I don't mind that Breach Blast because it went off right before Aphmau's BSB. Everyone's healed to full. So all magic buffs are in place for Ash's BSB, and all will absolutely be in place for Desh's. And that was a quick, another Wrath by Shulk. She's going to do 2 Wraths and then Entrust to Ash. And right after that, we use the Magicite at 10 seconds. Magicites become available at 10 seconds on Onion Knight, as he usually does. And because nothing actually happens usually on the next turn, I get a little greedy and use Aphmau's first command to enable her to do damage with her Medica second command, because the boss is vulnerable to lightning. So Aphmau's damage output is... It ends up being significant by the end. She does about, I don't know, 6,000 a turn. And getting 6,000 a turn from your healer while she's doing a Medica is really nice. See, that did absolutely nothing. A Medica command there would have done nothing, so I'd rather get off, you know, a command 1 that enables her second command instead. Okay, so because Ash doesn't have the Soul Break generation going yet, Shulk hasn't been able to get off her Wraths. Ash just starts generating herself 120 Soul Break points a turn, and Valley Garmanda hits like a truck too, so he does 30,000 damage a turn. And here's an interesting thing that I do. If I remember correctly, I misplayed this, and it shows, and it gets a little dicey at the end because of it. But I saw, and everyone should... This is just a reminder to everyone. When you're doing Magicites, you have to understand that the fights are extremely scripted. So if you notice something like everyone's at full health, right? And Aphmau's ATB is about to come up, and I'm going to hit the second command to enter a Medica, you know, for cast time. What if he doesn't do anything before she casts that Medica? That's not a good thing. You want that Medica to go off after. an attack. And that is exactly what happens here. Bismarck has a scripted heavy attack, and there's a big difference in the amount of healing that she needs to do for the entire party if that Medica goes off before or after. So I'm going to hold Aphmau's action here. I did the fight enough to know how much to hold it. I held it too much. I decided to skip Aphmau's turn, and you see Onion Knight's ATB is going to be coming up in a second. I skipped to Onion Knight, did his action, which is a Chain Thundaga. The ATB went back to Aphmau, and that's when I used her command 2. It took too long. What I should have done here was just wait for Onion Knight's ATB to come up, and then use the Medica, and then have ATBs transfer automatically to Onion Knight. But I did it incorrectly, and you'll see the giant gap between his huge attack, I forget what it's called, we're going to find out in a second, and the Medica going off, which was unnecessary. Because we got off Desh's BSB so quick in the beginning of the fight, it makes sense to use his second command. Because it makes sense to use the second command if you gain the full benefit of his burst. Which he does. He will gain the entire 15 seconds, and then at the end, he's able to cast his BSB. So this magic buff that he just gave himself, you're going to get full use of it. If you had done a 3-turn, like Wrath, and then Mana Pain or Mana's Pain, or Protecga or Shelga that he also gets with his Bard 4, then he'd be casting his BSB so late into the fight that it probably wouldn't make much sense to use his magic buff. You'd probably just want to stick to his command 1 instead. But I use his command 2 here because I cast his BSB so early into the fight. Savage Breach Blast, that's the name of the ability. And you see Aphmau's ATB, or cast time right now. That means I made a mistake. I waited too long to use her command 2. It obviously, since I'm making a video off of this, it ended up being okay in the end, but I could have done myself a favor by timing that better. And that's the last Valley Garmanda. So from now until the end of the fight, she needs to be casting Soul Breaks every single turn, which she can do. Because Shelt got off 2 Rads, and then she's going to Entrust. And Ash got off 4 Valley Garmandas, so that's a ton of Soul Break points by itself. So she's just going to be shooting off Dust Decrees back to back to back to back. Yep, that's 6,400 damage coming out of Aphmau every single turn. So that's really nice. And look at the amount of damage that Savage Breach Blast did. That's with everyone with Resist Water on. If her Medica had gone off before that and I had to suffer, the entire Savage Breach Blast, that would make for some pretty RNG dependent runs. I would need to hope that he didn't do a lot of damage over the course of the run. But by timing her her command 2 better, I was able to avoid that. So there goes the Entrust. I use the auto trick with Dash because his ATB is the only one that's up, and I know I need to use his command 1. And that's the Soul Break that Ash generated by herself. She hasn't even gotten entrusted to yet. And she's got almost 2 bars coming. Getting 7,500 on all 8 of those attacks while someone has Thunder God status and not a 30% damage RM is a pretty significant amount of damage to come out of someone with their BSB. Ash's BSB is very special in that, and that's why I was able to do this. And this is why I put Thunder God on her. When you're using 2.5 second cast time Soul Breaks back to back to back to back like that, you gain so much extra time. See, with that Savage Breach Blast, if I had mistimed my Aphmau command 2 worse than I did, that would have killed people. Ash just firing these off so fast it's kind of funny. And now because we used Dash's BSB so quickly, he was able to use his command 1 enough to generate enough Soul Break to get off his BSB to end the fight. And that's how we do it. I used Wall a second time on Shelt just to make sure that she never got another action, because I don't like it when other people's actions interfere with people because of input delay. There we go, 27.67. Using 2 Burst Soul Breaks as my primary damage sources. Or more specifically, 1 Burst Soul Break as my primary damage source. One of the things... So Shulk's probably great on almost any team with her ability to entrust as fast as she does, but she excels on teams with people that benefit by machine gunning out soul breaks. People that immediately come to mind are Kayn, who with his USB grants himself instant jump attacks. So he instantly casts all jumps, which his USB is and his OSB is. So he just fires out extremely fast soul breaks, so having a Shulk on the team is a really nice thing for him. Another that comes into mind, and one that I have and enjoy using a lot, is Lulu's USB. And yeah, that is a huge difference from before I dived Shulk. That fight is not damage dependent anymore. Yeah, Kayn's BSB too, but his BSB only hits 4 times, so it's not a lot of damage, and not something I would... I know it's a jump, and it's probably what you're saying. I'm just... I was trying to state the actual good soul breaks that can actually be used like that. So this fight is not dependent on damage anymore because of Shulk. She made this team into something that really kind of struggled because I'm only using two burst soul breaks, which you know, they aren't the big cheese anymore. This battle can sometimes end if Bismarck wants to be Bismarck, and he exerts the the influence of his troll face and uses Savage Breach Blast, like, you know, twice in a row or something. But damage is not a concern anymore. Thanks to Shulk and Ash's extremely powerful BSB entry. So I want to take the chat and see if anyone there has something to say about this. Hey, don't say poor Kayn. Kayn's USB and OSB together are just such an awesome combination, because the ability to, hey, I can now just instant cast all of my OSBs is kind of insane. It's what makes Kayn, even without his chain, one of the best, or the best, lightning damage dealer in the game. He's got some stiff competition. It depends on the team. On a team like this, with someone that can benefit so strongly, there's 2 ways that this team benefits strongly from having Shulk on it. One is, it's based upon burst soul breaks. Both of these characters need to get their burst soul breaks active immediately. So just by having Shulk on the team and getting those burst soul breaks used within the first 10 seconds is a massive, massive boon. And yeah, USBs benefit like that too, but anyway. But the real one is Ashe. Ashe using Thunder God status with her BSB is extremely powerful. Her BSB it's no mage OSB, but it's kind of like a physical OSB. A lot of N element entries on burst soul breaks, they carry a tax on them. We call it the N element tax. The multiplier on it is reduced to make up for the fact that if you have N element active on you, you do 80% more damage with your soul breaks of that element. So they dialed back the multiplier of a lot of N element soul breaks to make up for that fact, because it was making them too powerful. Ashe's burst soul break doesn't suffer from that tax. The first command, the second command, and the entry itself do not suffer from that tax. So her being able to machine gun out those burst soul breaks untaxed, getting that 80% damage boost, is almost like her casting an OSB every single turn. It's not quite as powerful, but it's almost as powerful, and that's what I'm using her for here. There's very few characters in the game that have a burst entry as powerful as Ashe is. Yeah, that's a great thing about Shulk, that she is a major contributor on almost any team for speedrunning purposes, and she doesn't require you to use the gacha at all. No pulls, nothing. I have 0 things for Shulk, and that's fine because she doesn't use soul breaks. Her using soul breaks means that she is doing something that is less effective than someone else on your team. Just give that soul break points to somebody else. Alright, as Sola said, soul breaks get 80% more damage. Abilities get 50% more damage. I was never anti-Shulk. I'm gonna pull on this Final Fantasy Tactics banner, and I'll see what I can do if I get Ram's LMR. Because it's a similar fight starter on a support 4. Not as powerful. Nothing is as powerful as Shulk and her Legend Dive. Nothing can do what it does. The only person that even comes close is Saz. And even Saz is different, because he starts off the battle with Haste and Instacast 1 with his LMR, and by using that and Mako Might, he can use his Burst Soul Break to start a fight, which gives him 2 more charges of Instacast. So it's kind of like starting the fight with 3 charges of Instacast, but there's a big difference there. One is you just use an entire Soul Break meter on his burst. Well, I guess they're both tied together, and because you needed to have that Soul Break ready to use, you don't have a Striker. So he's not as good of an Entruster, but he's a buffer that can also entrust really well. Something else you could do with Saz is, because he starts out with Haste and Instant Cast 1, you could just give him a Striker and instantly Wrath to start the fight, then do a regular cast time Wrath, then do a regular cast time BSB, and then get 2 charges of Instant Cast. But I feel like that's slower. I feel like you want to use that instant that he gets from his LMR on the BSB cast to remove that 2.5 seconds. What other BSBs have a great damage entry like Ashe's BSB? I'll probably have to turn to chat on that one, because I used to know a couple, but they don't come to mind right now. Refia doesn't. Hers is taxed. Alphino. I think Alphino's is also taxed. Yeah, Area Blast entry is 15.04 multiplier. That is that's after tax. For reference, Ash's BSB entry is 17.6 compared to Alphino's 15.04. Sid, Final Fantasy VII, that rings a bell, boss. I think you're right. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Sid's Burst Soul Break is an 8.0 entry multiplier. That's a very big multiplier. Lightning's BSB2 is in peril. It's not in Lightning. Orlando is also not an element. Nope, Squall suffers from the tax. He has a 6.64. Remember, compared to Sid, Final Fantasy VII, Sid High wins 8.0. I'd search the spreadsheet for 8.0 entries, but there's actually a lot of them, because not all soul breaks are N-element soul breaks. Is it a ribbon? No. Yeah, yes, it's my ribbon. That's why I never get sick. I'm immune to poison and virus. Ugh. Such a Final Fantasy nerdy thing to say. Bosch BSB? This is the last one I'm checking. Oh no, Bosch BSB is a 4.92 multiplier. That's typical for a taxed area of effect per soul break entry. Yeah, it's Overstrider. I could play over the killing blow again. Any other observations about this team and the fight itself? How about Aphmau, huh? Cura entry? No, a horrible legend dive, so I may one day give her a half dive so she gets that 15% increased heals. But how about Aphmau being able to heal Bismarck? It's just currently bugged right now, Green Sea. Oh yeah, half dive will get her more than that, but I mean for the Legend Materia one, specifically. Yes, for this run, I do, because I get the BSB off earlier, I'm able to use his command too, as well as him getting the magic buff from Mana's Pain. So that's Dash doing a lot more damage than he did in the other attempts. But Shulk's what enables that, because that allows him to burst on turn 3 instead of 4. Okay, so we did that. I felt like that took longer than normal, but that's okay. It depends on the healers, Jalen. Deuce, for instance, is all situational and has a great full dive. Have a good night, Solus. I don't see any reason to half dive anybody. Unless full diving them is a bad idea.